Hi, I'm Brittany Pacheco.
And I'm Elliot. Let's
Simple,
go.
one name, Elliot.
It's Elliot.
And we are the Watchers in the Basement. Welcome back to our channel. It's been a hot minute since we've talked about Gangs of London. Some things have popped up, mainly in my personal life. And we're good. We're okay. We're here. We survived.
How are you
So,
feeling? Are you recovered?
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
So for those out there who are curious, I had gallbladder removal surgery. That was fun. Not really. But I'll take that over how I was feeling, which was not great, but I'm doing much better now, just healing from the surgery and just happy all that's behind me. So, yay. But Frank, I've missed talking about Gangs of London. I hadn't watched the last two episodes up until today. Holy moly. We've got a lot to talk about. So let's just go right into it. We're talking about the penultimate and the finale of season 2. Once again, for Gangs of London, if you haven't watched it, it is on AMC Plus. Highly, highly recommend.
Absolutely.
I mean, you basically say this is like modern Game of Thrones.
It is. It's one thing about shows overseas, like in London and just Europe in general. They the bandwidth for violence and like just really just vile things is understood. It's not really much rating when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So and so with that being said, it gives the show more nuance and more limitless potential to be grimy, to be creative. And I tell you, man, this show does whatever limits it has, it breaks the glass and reaches new heights of like creativity when it comes to like violence and betrayal and all of that. Like it's my favorite show on TV now. Now I might change when House of Dragons comes out in the next 2 years or Euphoria, but as of right now, this season of Gangs in London is my favorite season of television.
I can see where you would say that just because of the level of not only just violence behind it. I mean, Frank and I are like kindred spirits. We're here for the toxicity. We're here for the violence,
Yeah,
not in our own personal lives, no, but like to watch it and see it unfold, it's pretty amazing to watch. But this is really a drama series as well. It is quite dramatic. It's a crime drama action, throw that into a blender and then poof, here you have Gangs of London. So it's incredible to just see how the story has progressed. Now it does have some slow moments, I will admit, but overall I think it's captivating just in general. And we're going to start by talking about the penultimate episode. It's picking up from where we left off with the previous episode, and that was when Sean handed over Lale to Asif. And you and I were kind of like, fuck Sean Wallace. We're here for Elliot now. Like,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's crazy how the tide turns, right? Because we find out Sean's alive. Is at the end of episode 2 or 3? Is it 3?
I think it was two or three.
So
Yeah.
we're excited. We're revigorated. Like, man, one of our favorite characters is back. Let's get it. Like, and then within 3 episodes, man, he becomes our worst character that we hate, and now we want to see die. So, and again, with this show is, I think what this show shows you and tells you is that there are no absolute protagonists. Like everything is circumstantial. Everything is scenario based. And the things that Sean did, man, by betraying Lale, and for one, not only betraying Lale, but betraying the pact that he made with Lale's people to ensure their safety and to ensure that they move their supplies. So it was messed up for sure. And Brittany, we talked about this off air as well before the show started. I still hate Sean. Don't get it twisted. But given the circumstances he was in, I understand why he did what he did, even though I don't agree with it. In this mob life, man, there are no absolute alliances. There are no absolute enemies. I mean, the friends of my enemy, or whatever that term is, however that term is.
Yeah.
Enemy, friend of my enemy is my friend, or whatever it is. But everything is so circumstantial based on opportunity and based on circumstances. And the minute that Sean got saved by Lolly, but kidnapped by the adjacent FBI or the adjacent authorities there, Interpol, what you want to call it, his life was at that point he was playing the game by people that was out of his control.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, man, in this life, you either the king or you're the pawn. And I think Sean wanted to be the king by all means, nothing left to save. I mean, he's all by himself.
And I love how you kind of set this up, because the fact that there is like this monologue that you get from Elliot, he's facing the camera, he's talking to the camera, but you don't know just yet who he's speaking to. But that line of, you're either a king or a pawn, and you're right to say that Sean wanted to be king, because he's constantly compared to his father, Finn, who really was the king of this whole organization and all the people who he worked with and people who worked for him. And that's a lot to live up to. And Sean, not only made the great comeback from the dead, if you will, he's feeling like he needs to prove himself, right? And so with making an alliance with Lale and her people to, have their arms, but also to keep them safe from Asif, and then he turns around on all of them because he aligns himself with Koba, and everyone fucking hates Koba, including Sean's family. Hi, Marion. And he's just making these decisions, and it's like, dude, you're not thinking, or you're at least 2 steps ahead of everyone else, right? But yeah, he's a loose cannon without a doubt. He wants to be the king. He wants to have it all. It's just the way that he goes about it is just, I don't know if there's a word for it. It's just absurd, really.
He's like a petulant child with a machine gun, and he doesn't know he doesn't understand the power of his actions until the ashes are arising. And
well, listen, when he was a petulant child, he couldn't pull the trigger. His brother had to. All right, so.
And I can make a case that he's been trying to live up to not pulling the trigger from when he was 14 years old. Every move that he tries to make, or every decision he makes, is to like overcompensate.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. To overcompensate from this from letting his dad Finn down way back when he was a kid. I can make that case because he doesn't. Every move he makes is more so. Oh, you don't think I can do it? Well, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it like this without thinking about the ripple damage that he's creating.
Yeah.
The ripple effects of his decision.
For sure.
So I get it, man. I get it. If he has daddy issues, he has these shoes to fill. That, which is so funny, is that nobody's expecting him to be Finn, but himself.
Yeah.
And there's been multiple times throughout the series where, Marion or Billy or whoever just says, hey, just be the best you can be. Yeah. But I think because Finn inspired so much fear throughout the cruise, he wants to aspire to do the same.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good way of putting it. And I definitely feel like with the beginning of this penultimate episode, which once again takes place a week after, Sean hands over Lale to Asif, he's feeling the repercussions of his actions, right? Because the heroin shipment that's supposed to come in for Asif is completely not delivered. I mean, what Lale's people come to discover is a whole mound of just dead people, right? And the heroin is gone. And you're talking 1.3, I forgot what the weight was. Yeah, 1.3 tons, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots and lots and lots of heroin, right? And it's like, okay, who took the heroin? Well, then you cut to the next scene. You see Luan and his driver. They've got everything packed up. They drive it into like this canister somewhere in the woods, and then you find out that Luan's in alliance with Marion. Talk about like treasonous acts, if you will. You want to say Sean is the king, and then you have his mother, who's been a part of this whole organization, since day one. Mm-hmm. For her to pull that move from underneath her son, wild.
You know what? And again, I gave this thought because I watched the episode twice, and I gave this thought.
Okay.
And I'm going to vouch for Marion from this standpoint. So right after we thought Sean died, right? The Wallace Enterprise is in shambles. The gangs have kind of moved on from the Wallaces, and now Asif is taking over, and the investors and the Hayakoba, all that, right?
Right.
And we find that Marion is kind of like operating under the low, buying weapons and selling weapons to the highest bidder. And Koba finds out about it, and Koba sends men to the compound Marion is staying at, and kills everybody at the compound. Like drops bombs, helicopter, machine guns, whatever.
Right.
Marion did not forget that, and
the North remembers, people.
The North remembers, man.
Remembers.
The North remembers, right? And when Sean comes back, when Sean's back from the dead per se, and he gets intel that Koba is going to strike Marion, the first thing he does, he calls Mama, like, "Hey, Mama, look, they're coming for you. You got to get the fuck out of there now." So Sean's and Trench saves Marion's life. Marion did not forget that. Now all of a sudden, my son, I'm speaking in the eyes of Marion, my son is now laying in bed with the enemy, the guy who tried to kill me, your mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, this is not, Finn wouldn't do that. Like, I'm not laying in bed with the enemy that tried to take my life. So from that standpoint, and Marion warned Sean plenty of times, "Hey, man, do not lay in bed with this dude. Koba's all about Koba. He will kill you the minute he finds an upper hand or opportunity to, and take all the money for himself and all the power for himself." And Sean did not listen. So from that standpoint, I'm not mad at Marion for betraying Sean, because it's more about betraying Koba than Sean, because Marion wants her kids safe. I mean, look, Marion is a treacherous woman. If you double cross her, we've seen what she can do, what she's capable of. But from this standpoint, man, she did not forget Koba coming after her and trying to take her life. So I'm not even mad at that. And then Luan has more reason than anybody to go against Koba. Koba attacked Luan's house, frightened his children, took his wife, buried his wife alive to make sure that Luan does what he needs to do. You know, so Luan had to go full out Rambo, man, to save his wife's life. Right. You know what I'm saying? So those two people, Marion and Luan, have every reason in the world to go against Koba, man, because what they've been through with Koba.
No, you're 100% like right to say all of that. Like I said, the North remembers. Let's just, if we're going to talk Game of Thrones, let's keep it real Game of Thrones. But, it's just really interesting to see the dynamic shift and all that, because for a while it seemed that Luan just didn't want any affiliation with the Wallaces whatsoever, including Marion, right? So to see him operating under her instructions for me was kind of like, whoa, like, okay, he made a choice now. Like he decided to go ahead and align himself with Marion and kind of stick it to Koba and therefore stick it to Sean. And Marion's reason is to, what you have already said, is to protect her kids, right? And she knows that Koba is going to cut Sean out at any given moment. And so, that's why she did what she did. But when Sean and Koba talked to Asif saying, okay, the product has been taken, there's someone who has I can't even think of the word right now, betrayed us, we need to figure out who, but we also need to get the drugs here. And so Asif suggests that go to Paris. There's a boss in Paris who hasn't even moved, let's say even 20% of their product. Go talk to BB. And so Sean and Koba decide that, okay, we're going to go to Paris. We're going to meet this BB, but we're also going to take Saba with us. And poor Saba, like, she's had a hell of a season. Like, this poor girl that, we never met up until the season. She's just caught in the crossfire of everything. And because she's fluent in French, she's going to go as like their interpreter. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that has to be so difficult for her, because the fact that she hates Koba, like all her people hate Koba, right? And then Sean, I think she obviously knew at that point, or maybe she didn't know at that point, but Sean's affiliation with Koba is concerning, and she doesn't like him. And, and then it's like, now I have to go work for these people. Like, what the fuck? Like, what did I do to deserve this? But man, Saba will prove herself in not only in this episode but in the finale. Like I was like, yes, girl, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. This show does not have minor characters live throughout episodes
Right.
without some type of them making some type of groundbreaking impact. And I knew from the minute that Saba's uncle got killed in front of her and Elliot saved her, and I knew she had a bigger purpose. I knew that she was going to play a role in the events to come. And man, did she? Did she, man?
Did she?
Her role in the show was very influential. And to be honest, I don't think she's done. I think going to season 3, she's gonna play a role as well. Because it's gonna be new things that's gonna come up. So
Absolutely, and we'll talk about that when we get to the finale episode. In the meantime, while Sean, Koba, and Saba are on their way to Paris, Elliot learns that from Shannon is in on this deal with Marion and Luan, and Marion basically says, "Okay, we're going to control this product. We're going to distribute it to London before Sean and Koba get back, but we're going to do it at like half the price, basically. You know, we need to get a leg up before they come back." But Elliot has other plans. He's going to head to Paris as well because he wants to take out Sean. He wants to take out Sean and Koba. So in the midst of all this, you know, when Sean poses the question to his mother, you know, there's a traitor among us, Billy's the one who kind of figures it out. And he acts on those thoughts. Were you surprised at all when Billy stumbled upon the heroin container that Luan popped up behind him? Were you surprised at all?
no, because when Billy's not high, he's a very bright and intuitive guy. It's just that he has his defaults when it comes to drug abuse. But when he's clear minded, he's an asset. I mean, a lot of times Sean don't want to be a part of the asset because Sean doesn't want to lose him. But he's a bright dude. I think that's, and again, I go back to that flashback of like Sean not be able to pull the trigger, but Billy can, and Billy does. I think that gives you foresight that Billy doesn't mind getting his hands dirty if he has to. The problem is when he does do those sort of things, it's hard for him to come back to humanity. Than Sean and Marion and the rest of the Wallaces. But no, I wasn't surprised at all. I mean, one thing about Billy is loyal to Sean. He is they're so close. They're synonymous. And like, I honestly believe this with all of my heart. Sean will betray anybody in the Wallace family except for Billy. And I think because Billy was there for him and when they were younger, and Billy did the dirty things that Sean didn't want to do. And I think Sean never forgot that. So that loyalty between those two brothers, man, means the world to Sean and Billy. So I wasn't surprised at all.
Yeah, no, it's just, of course, with the camera angles and cinematography throughout this whole season has been wonderful. I mean, the way that they set up like the fight scenes and give you like these interesting angles and what have you, but even just telling the story visually of, okay, Billy stumbled upon the heroin, he's phoning Sean, and you just kind of off center Billy just a little bit, and then you're like, oh, someone's gonna walk up behind him and catch him in the act. I wasn't personally anticipating Luan. I figured it was just going to be some henchman, but it makes sense that it would be Luan because he was the one who retrieved the heroin, and so he's got Billy cornered, if you will. And
nobody's gonna leave 1.3 tons of heroin in the woods without being looked at.
Somebody's
gonna be posted up doing surveillance.
That's fair. That's true. Yeah, it's a lot of product. A lot of product. But it's Luan who uses Billy's phone to call Marion and says, Billy's here. He's found the heroin. What do you want me to do with him? And Marion, to me, just blew my mind by saying, lock him up in the van, in the canister with the heroin. Like, how cold do you have to be to put your like drug addict son in a tight space like that?
It's fucked up. That floored me too. I thought she was gonna tell the one, hey, tie him up, bring him back to the compound, saying, or leaving little Albania tied up with henchmen around him. Yeah. That surprised me too, because at that point he's still battling his sobriety. Like he's still off and on. So like, I don't know if Marion was prepared to lose her son in that fashion if he had OD'd in that truck.
Oh my
But
god.
that was a ballsy move. I don't know if Marion was counting on him overcoming that and not partaking in the drugs, or Marion was like, "Well, shit, I'm gonna leave the decision making to you. If you kill yourself, that's on you." It's gangster mothering for sure, but I think that shows. I think it tells us too that Marion didn't want anybody interrupting her plans to try to take Lyndon back.
Yeah. And kind of on that note of taking London back, because Marion will visit Billy while he's imprisoned in this container full of heroin. Billy says something to Marion. I think it's, we've all thought it, but he verbalized it. And it's that she wants the power. She wants to be on top, and that she might actually wish that Sean never returned. What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think he's spot on about it, or he's just saying something just to hurt his mother?
The Wallaces, the way they operate is by hitting below the belt. That's what they do. That's the Wallace way. I don't think, and maybe because I have a great relationship with my mom, and like I just don't see a mother doing that.
Yeah.
I don't ever see
A
a
good
mother.
a good parent, let alone mother, would
Yeah, a good
never do
parent,
that.
like wishing that that child never came back. I mean, unless she was acting, she cried tears of joy when Sean came back on that
Right.
rooftop when they saw each other. She was happy. She was mad afterwards because she's like, "How could you be hiding over around these last 6 months or whatever, and not let me know you was even alive?"
Yeah,
But she was
exactly.
genuinely happy for her son. I think the tide turned when Sean got in bed with Koba because again, um, Floriana and the plans to get the money. She told Sean about all of that, so she wasn't hiding anything from her kids. They all
Yeah.
knew what the plan was to try to get the money and run. But
Mhm.
I think the minute that Koba was brought into the picture, things changed between Sean and Marianne and Billy forever. So I don't believe that, man. Marion's a lot of things. She's a monster, man. But the things that she does, the sacrifices she made for her children are very well documented. I don't think she would ever like not wish the child alive or like put the child in harm's way. I mean, well,
I mean, if it was Jon Snow, that's a different story, but,
yes. If Kit Harington shows up in the cast and like, yeah, fuck Jon Snow forever. This is all about my natural born kids.
Oh, man. I love how we can constantly bring in Game of Thrones with Michelle Fairley. It's great. Yeah, she definitely would. One would question Mother of the Year award for Marion Wallace. Good golly. But yeah, she's a force to be reckoned with. Like,
Yeah.
and I mean, I think she's definitely proved that this season without a shadow of a doubt. It's just like, for someone who professes to love her children, and then she does this to her drug addict son, it's like, wow. Like, hitting below the belt is definitely the way to
Oh
describe
yeah.
her.
No, it's that's definitely a low blow. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention this too. I think Marion's also gone through an identity crisis because when she was married to Finn, she was the wife of Finn Wallace,
That's
not
true.
Marion Wallace, the mob leader. She was the wife of a big mob leader. So, and then finding out everything she found out about Finn after death, about the other woman and him planning to run away. I
Yeah.
think she's going through an identity crisis of what, I'm no longer sit on the sidelines and just be a trophy wife and just be sit quiet idly. I'm gonna speak my mind. I'm gonna lead the pack. I'm gonna do things differently this time because the last time I did things this way it didn't work out for me. So she's also battling that too as a Wallace.
That's fair. That is definitely a fair statement to make, but damn, these Wallaces be crazy. But
That's it.
let's go back to Sean, Koba, and Saba in Paris. They do meet with BB, who surprisingly for me, I wasn't expecting a female mob boss kind of person, but I was like, okay, I'm here for this energy. Like I'm here for it.
The
Like,
drug and racketeering game is very progressive in 2023.
my goodness, is it? Yes. Also, Paris, my favorite city outside of the United States. I would have loved to have seen more Paris and whatnot, just not under those circumstances. But anyway, so, this meeting, it's a lunch meeting. They kind of talk about, here's why we're here. We need your product. This is what we can offer in return, like a partnership. And she wants to continue talking, right? So it's like, come to my club tonight. We'll talk more. And Sean and Koba and Saba leave. Sean and Koba have some matters to deal with. Saba is like said, hey, go do what you want to do. Just, come back by this time. Well, you never let a female walk alone, okay? Especially in a foreign city, despite you being able to speak the language, because she gets snatched up by Elliot, who has been watching the place along with some other colleagues of his. And he basically says to her, like, listen, they have their claws into you. You are not getting out. But I need information because I want to kill Sean Wallace and Koba, and I need your help in order to do so. Like, for her, for Saba, it's just like, damn, I can't catch a break no matter where I go, right? I mean, I feel for her. I truly feel for her, but it was smart thinking on Elliot's part because he and his colleagues won't be able to get into the club armed, but she can because she's a guest. So he hands her the gun. And this is where things start to become very interesting. They go to this club in Montmartre, and it's almost like you think, oh my gosh, she's going to be discovered with the gun, and it's like, nah, she's good, but she goes and plants the gun, texts Elliot, says, hey, it's here. He gets in, he covert disguises as like a waiter for this club. And Frank, I mean, can we talk about this fight scene? Like, these fight scenes are what make Gangs of London the gangsterest shit I've ever watched in my entire life.
I'm telling you, man, like, Mr. Dewis who plays Elliot, I hope he's James Bond. Because there's rumors that he might take on the role of James Bond. I need him in a feature film of like this type of this is his lane. Not only can he act, the dialogue is impressive. The action scenes that he's a part of is impressive. Like, this is probably my my second favorite action sequence of Elliot in the series. The first was with the knife and stuff, but
the butcher knife.
Like he gets a text from Saba saying, hey, they're in this room or whatever. So he masquerades as a waiter. He goes upstairs. He's ready to knock heads off and kill Sean and Koba. He gets to the room. In between time, I think Saba finds out that the room has been changed last minute. I guess BB's main VIP lounge. So,
well, there's like the general public VIP lounge, and then there's BB's VIP.
Exactly.
Lounge. Right.
So they changed last minute. Saba sends a text, but because she's in the poor reception area, that text never goes through of where the new room was in that they're stationed in. So Elliot never receives it. So Elliot goes to the original room that Saba tells him they're going to be in. He gets in there. It's an Asian family celebrating a birthday, right? Mm-hmm. And before Elliot can say anything, the henchmen behind them start shooting. They kill like most people in that party. The birthday guy, like, guns, bullets are spraying all over the place. And it's just more collateral damage. And
not just that, Frank, the fucking microphone stand. Oh my God. When you told me initially about this show and said like the level of creativity that goes into these fighting sequences, like that first episode with the darts, the second or third episode, whichever it is, with the butcher knife, Jesus. Yep. This episode with the mic stand, I mean, using the weight of it, whatever, but then also like just having it penetrate, really poor choice of words, but you get what I'm trying to say, impale people, and then you see like the blood just coming out and the camera's panning, and then it just blood splurt on the camera. Oh my God, like I was cringe the entire time.
It's crazy. No, it's crazy, and like I'm not fucking with a dude that can kill me with a dart. I'm not. Like, okay. At this point, I'm not fucking with him. Like, word should have traveled by now that this dude is a professional killer, and like you need about 40 henchmen every time.
He's a black John Wick.
Huh?
He's a black man John Wick.
He is. He really is. He's different. Mm-hmm. So finally, I think so Koba and BB and Koba they hear like noise in the background on the other floor. Yeah. And that's when I don't, was it Sean that noticed asked about Saba's phone or something like that? I can't remember who asked about Saba's phone.
Yeah, so like they all start noticing that there's commotion. It's revealed that there's a gunman, and so they look at the security, and you see in the elevator it's Elliot. And
Yeah.
when BB asks Sean, "Do you know him?" "Yeah, I do." And she says, "Fuck all you, like get out of here, no deal." When they did strike up a deal to not only traffic drugs but women as well. My God, this is coming from a woman too. Like, what the fuck? Crazy. And she tells him to get out. And then that in the elevator, that's when Sean asks Saba for her phone. It's revealed that she's the one who informed Elliot. And so he's pissed. Koba's like, "Hey, not here. We're going to deal with this. I'm going to fucking make her tell me who told her about this, or who, how she got involved, basically."
And
But
poor child. Like,
yeah,
you gotta
yeah,
erase the text messages, woman. You gotta erase those messages. Like, you can't
yeah.
leave any trace of like you making contact with Elliot.
Hmm.
That's what you fucked up first.
Yeah,
It was not erasing those messages. But
for
that
sure.
action scene, man, like, again, this is one man fighting like 15, 20 guys on different floors and different rooms. And it's just he's the one, man. He's Neo, bro. He's the chosen one.
He's the one.
He's one. Like, it is.
Yeah.
This man never really sustained injuries. Like, he'll get beat up, but he avoids bullets. He avoids like.
We're gonna put a pin in that. We got to put a pin in that because
Yeah.
the finale,
Oh yeah.
oh my goodness,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, yeah. So obviously things go south in France. Everyone returns back to London, but Elliot does call Shannon, gives her a heads up. Hey, like he knows, he's gonna connect that comes back to you, Shannon. Like, you need to get Danny and go, her son. And she's like, "No, I'm not going anywhere, but I know how you can get to Sean." And because of the fact that she's been working with Marion, and she reveals to Elliot about Billy, then we cut to the scene of very much like the beginning of the episode, where Elliot's having this monologue and he's talking to someone and you just don't quite know who he's speaking to. And then
Mhm.
you realize, oh, it's Billy. He's got Billy tied up, and he's got a fucking little like axe. And it's like, what are you gonna do, Elliot? And he talks about, you're either a king or a pawn. He's like, well, how do you make a king a pawn? And you see him dragging that axe. I was like, oh my God, what is he gonna do? And then back at the Wallaces, when Sean tells his mother about what's happened, but you see that suspicious look on his face. He's on to his mother. He's like, you know, Asif and whomever else weren't the only people who knew about the routes, mom. Like, he kept saying mom like so many times, like, come on, come clean, come clean. But a package is delivered. Marion gets it, brings it to the counter. She sees that there's blood on her palm. There's blood seeping from the corner of the box. She opens it. Frank, tell us what was inside that box.
Fucking forearm and a hand attached to it. Like, not a pinky, not a finger, not a hand. A fucking forearm with a hand. Like, the
And
whole.
what we're talking about is like depending how you look at it, before or after the elbow onward.
Yeah, it's and like at this point, I'm like, shit, Billy's dead. What the fuck? Like, he killed Billy. Like, I'm thinking Billy's dead. Like, cause like when I saw Elliot with the axe, I thought he might chop off a finger. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a couple fingers. Maybe I didn't think a whole fucking forearm. That surprised. That's the character. That's the character turn, Brittany, that you're talking about, because Elliot, he's the one who had never done that. Elliot's trying to preserve life. He's trying to limit collateral damage. And at this point, a season later, he lost his dad. He's not sleeping. He's had dreams about losing, nightmares of his wife and child dying. He feels trapped. Like, when you corner a pit bull, man, don't be surprised when a pit bull bites. And this is Elliot biting now.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And the identifiable marking on this forearm that it's Billy is because we've seen this tattoo that says Sean, and it's got a picture of like a bird, or I don't know if it's what type of bird it is, but that's something we've seen a lot throughout this season. And this is horrifying. This is horrifying to the Wallaces. And like you've talked about before, the loyalty that Billy has for Sean is unmatched, right? We've seen that Marion will turn on her sons at a drop of a hat, but the brotherly love and loyalty Sean and Billy have for one another is undeniable. And so that's going to break you, right? That's going to break your spirit in some kind of way. Sean wants to be on top. He wants London. He wants everything his father had.
Mm-hmm.
But then now things have shifted. And as we go into the finale of season 2, we cut back to just a couple of hours before the package was delivered. I don't know why I'm laughing. I think it's like an uncomfortable tick. But we do see Billy is alive, right? Post forearm.
Morphined up.
Post forearm detachment, morphined up. And we see that now Marion is just freaking out with this arm they've now taken it out of the box. It's just lying in its wrappings on the counter, and she's like, I can't deal with this, and she goes and covers it. And then Sean takes the opportunity to say, you can't look at it because basically you're involved somehow, like indirectly you're involved. And so he quickly figures out how she was behind everything. She claims it was to save her sons from Koba, and Sean does what any great son would do. He chokes out his mother. not in that great, pleasurable kind of way.
Any great son would do.
Any great son. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, we see that, this great mother loves her children. She's going to put her drug addict son in a van with a shit ton of heroin. No, Sean literally goes and chokes out his mother, and you see this change across his face. We've talked about him being a loose cannon, but you really saw that change in that moment. Did you think he was going to kill her at that point?
Yeah, I mean, Sean is Sean. One thing about Sean, man, he's so unpredictable. Everything Sean has done, I didn't predict. I didn't predict him turning in Lolly. I didn't predict him killing Elliot's dad and trying to kill Elliot. So at this point, I'm just like, everything I guess about Sean, I've been wrong on. So at this point, I'm gonna stop guessing. I thought he was gonna choke her out. I really did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but when he stopped and says he never wants to see her or hear from her again, Marion, catching her breath, she delivers this great line. And I'm like, this is so not Catelyn Stark. This is Marion Wallace. she says to him as he's walking out, your father would have finished the job. And I'm like, oh, we're going to kick a man while he's down.
That doesn't make Finn better. I need to make that clear. Killing your wife does not make you the better man. Strangling your mother does not make you the better man. This is the twisted dichotomy psychology that the Wallaces have on each other. It's like the better you are, the more benevolent you are. That doesn't make any sense to me. The more respected you are, the more feared you are. No man should harm their wife. No son should harm their mother. And for that to be the trump card was like, what the? Who want to be involved in this family?
I guess
I don't want to be a Finn. I don't want to kill my mother. What the fuck?
Yeah, no. Protect mama at all costs.
Absolutely.
No, I think because the fact that we know, and surely Marion knows her children, she knows that Sean wants to live up to Finn's legacy and wants to be him. And that's what separates Sean from Finn, is that Sean can't follow through with certain things, whereas Finn would not have given it a second thought. And I think that's what obviously Marion was trying to say in that moment, is that you couldn't finish the job, but your father could have, which you're right. It doesn't make you a better person by doing it. But if you're gonna kick a man while he's down, that's the way to go, I suppose. But yeah, so Sean is now gonna phone Elliot because obviously he wants to get Billy back, and he's gonna do whatever it takes in order to get Billy back. And Elliot's kind of like, all right, Sean, you're putty in my hands, basically. But Billy's protesting. He's like, no, it's a trap. Don't do it. That kind of thing. And Sean's just tunnel vision. He just wants to get Billy, take care of him, and be done with it. Right. So in the meantime, we see that Koba brings Saba back to her people. and Hakeem, who I guess you could say is maybe like the ringleader of this family, if you will. He's told by Koba to quote deal with her, and this is where I feel without a doubt Saba just shines. Like she kind of knew of the inner workings of the family.
I think Hakeem's the cousin.
Yeah, he is.
It was the other guy that was told to kill Saba.
Oh, Faz.
I believe so. I don't know his
I
character
think it was
name.
Hakeem though. I think it
Was
was.
it Hakeem? Okay, I might
I
be
think
wrong.
it was Hakeem because he kept telling Faz, who Saba's like close with. Like I guess that's also her cousin. Lots
Yeah,
of
you're
cousins.
right. You're right. Yeah,
Uh,
okay.
yeah, Hakeem with the gun told Faz, go to the car, go to the car. You don't need to see this. He was going to deal with Saba. And basically, Saba gets like these hot coals, flings it to Hakeem, and with Faz's help, she grabs the gun and shoots the motherfucker.
Roughly so. Hell yeah.
I was like, about time. Standing on your own 2 feet, because there was something that Elliot had said in the previous episode about holding the gun. And if she wasn't going to help him then by taking the gun into the club, that she was going to have to hold a gun for the rest of her life. In other words, you're going to be living in fear for the rest of your life. And I think that kind of played true up until that moment when she took the gun. Like she finally said, I'm done letting other people decide things for me. I'm taking matters into my own hands, and kills her cousin. I was like, wow. This is not the last we've seen of Saba. Like at all.
Absolutely not.
It's insane. I was like, oh, people are just getting their hands dirty no matter where we go. And this includes Luan. I think, Frank, it was this scene that we're going to break down. That's when I texted you to say, this fucking finale. Talk about this scene with Luan and his men when they show up to the hotel that the Dumanis are staying at.
Yeah, so the Dumanis steal the drugs, the heroin, and they stand at this little ratchet ass motel, and and Ed knows they're coming for them. Like he knows. Like, and we find out later in the episode that the van has a tracker on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like anytime there's 1.2 million, 1.2 tons of drugs taken, that shit's gonna be tracked. It's gonna be it's gonna be monitored off top. So they have 2 rooms rented out. So Ed and Shannon and Danny, they see a car in a parking lot, so they already know what's up. So by the time Luan stays away. Is Luan even there? I don't think Luan's there.
He's in the car.
He's in the car. So the Albanians come out. They shoot up the room first. So they shoot it up to a crisp. They walk in. They don't see anybody in there. And before you know it, man, you just see like these AR-15s and these like little bullet rocket launchers spraying through the walls, spraying
my God,
every inch of that room that Ed and Shannon and Danny were in previously. And the camera goes to Shannon and Ed. They're just spraying the wall down. By the time they're done, they go in there. Everybody's dead. Not just dead. They pretty much just chop human liver at that point. They're chopping to the crisp.
They're obliterated. I mean, you see,
yeah, it's not even close.
Their body parts detached.
Yeah, body parts detached, blood everywhere. And Ed comes out of the second room, the second motel room.
But wait a second. The fact that they know that everyone's dead is because of the fact that there's like this huge gap in the wall.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that tells you how much firepower there was to completely obliterate this wall, let alone the people there. And I felt for Danny because he's in the bathroom of the other room and he's doing, one of these numbers, but then he kind of comes out just to see and hear and really hear what's going on. And it's almost like he had like a smile on his face. Did you see that at all from him?
Yeah, it looked like a sigh of relief, like
maybe
finally we can live freely again. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
For a child to even smile in a moment like that, it's kind of It's fucked up. Like you don't want to see a child grow up in that life, but again, that's how Sean grew up. That's how
Billy.
I forgot Danny's uncle's name that died.
Oh, Alex.
That's how Alex grew up. They grew up in this world of violence and the
Yeah.
chaos.
Yeah.
And I don't think the path is going to be any different for Daniel as he gets older and goes up in his life.
Lord.
But yeah, so walks outside the motel and he calls to Juan. He's like, "Hey man, like this is bigger than us. Let's say this better for another day." And it's kind of like what Ed told Luan. Luan understood like, "Hey man, this ain't my fight, bro. You right." And Luan just pulls out the parking lot and leaves.
Yeah.
So it's a powerful scene because
Literally.
Luan, I think Ed mentioned to Luan, "Look, I helped you find your wife.
Yep.
Do me this solid, man. Just leave my family out of this. Just go about your business. We'll continue this another day."
He
And
says that there's a reckoning elsewhere.
absolutely, this is bigger than us. This is bigger than us, and we cannot. This reckoning is going to happen, and it's inevitable. And I love that scene because it's two power mongers, man, understanding that this moment is bigger than them.
Absolutely. And I think the key to have Luan back down, because all his men are dead at this point. I mean, it's just him. Not that Luan isn't incapable of taking out the Dumanis, but Ed reminding Luan that he helped get his wife back. That was the saving grace right there. And for Ed to also say, I will deal with Marion. You don't need to worry about Marion. Let me deal with her, which is something that Ed has always done. He's always dealt with the Wallaces. So I think he is quite capable of doing what he says he's going to do. And that's to keep these people in check, if you will. So with that scene having played out, we look back at Sean and Koba, who are heading out to meet Elliot because, again, Sean wants to get Billy back. And they make a pit stop at a gas station at, as you do, bathroom break, you get food. And the unthinkable, to me, it was unthinkable. I wasn't expecting this in the finale. I was thinking we're going to get a whole other season of this character that is Koba. No. Sean, through the instructions of Elliot, not only kills the driver that he encounters in the bathroom, he poisons the shit out of Koba. And when I say the shit out of Koba, Frank, I mean not just nosebleed, but blood is coming out of the corners of his eyes.
Before we go there, I want to talk about the stories that these two guys exchanged about their fathers.
Yes, please do. Go ahead.
It was a moment. It was a moment of intimacy for a second. So
a little bit. I mean, you talked about Sean jumping in bed with Koba, so let's go with that.
Let's talk about it. So
let's talk about it.
So
let's
first
share
off,
daddy
Sean tells
problems.
a story about Finn, right? And Sean lies in the story. Did you catch that?
I did catch
the story about him about Sean being tested as a 14-year-old, with the man in the dirt and his head's popped up, and Sean tells Koba that he took the shot.
Yes,
and
he did.
In the story that we see, he takes a shot even though it's a lie. And it brought me to my attention why would Sean lie? Why would Sean try to make this big badass as a kid for no reason? It threw me off, and to this day I still don't understand. I don't know why he lies. And then Koba in turn tells an even more intimate story about how I can't remember the story exactly, but he talks about how
I remember it.
I don't know if go ahead, yeah, please, because I can't remember those details.
So Koba says that as a little boy, his sister had a dog that, as it got old, it started looking like in rough shape. And so 6-year-old little Koba decides, I'm going to give the dog a bath. I'm going to brush it. I'm going to make it look pretty. I put little bows in its hair and put a little crown on it. I took it downstairs to show my dad, whose friends were there. And again, 6-year-old Koba, I cannot stress this enough. This is an innocent child. Says, Daddy, doesn't the dog look pretty? And the dad beats the shit out of Koba in front of his friends.
It's a fucked up story.
But But like Koba laughs about it, and I'm like, this is not okay. This is not normal behavior.
This is a result of like psychological damage never being treated. And I was so surprised that Koba's story was um way more vulnerable, way
Hmm.
more innocent than Sean's story, because Koba talks about getting his ass whooped,
Yeah,
his ass handed to him, while Sean
yeah,
tries to make himself look the hero and the victor of like, I did what my dad said. I fulfill the prophecy of being like the heir to the Wallace throne, like pretty much lying,
yeah.
presenting himself to be this guy, which I still don't. I want to pose this question to you, because if Sean is poisoning Koba in this moment, what was the use of lying to Koba at that point?
I think for Sean to kind of prove himself to not be the weak person, because there was a conversation leading up to them stopping at the gas station where Koba admits that he thought that he was actually going to have to take out Sean because you cannot have weakness in leadership. And so for Koba to openly express to Sean his thoughts about Sean's character being weak, Sean had to kind of like prove himself in that moment to say, like, I'm not weak. But yeah, it's curious why he's going to lie about it. And here's the thing, you tell yourself a lie enough, you're going to start believing it to be real.
Mm-hmm.
This is how delusion, works. And I think he just wanted to tell Koba, like, I'm not weak. I was 14 years old when my dad told me to do this and I pulled the trigger, to which Koba said, good boy. Like that, he's seeking some kind of approval, right? Some sort of validation that he did do the right thing, right? Whereas Koba, like you're saying, innocent child, just doing what any child would do, and he gets his ass handed to him for it. You see the different dynamics of who they were as children and the kind of men that they grew up to be. Sean is still a little bitch in many ways, whereas
So
Koba
sure. Yeah.
Koba is hardened, and his opinion about men not having families is what makes them weak. He doesn't want weakness. He needs strong men.
That's a great point, Brittany, of like the differences that Kobe's experience made him hardened, Sean's experience made him insecure
Mhm.
and a little bitch. But everything Sean does to this day is to live up to that, to a dead man's image of what he wants his son to be. Finn is
Yep.
dead. Finn is gone. He's not coming back. And the fact that you're still chasing that image of being this guy that you want your father wanted you to be is insecure. It's
Mhm.
bitch like,
Yeah.
and you're not living in the now. Whereas Kobe, man, I get Kobe now. Like I see why family is a weakness to him. Even when he told Lawan that I have no wife and kids and all that kind of stuff, because the very as a 6-year old, the very parents that was sworn to protect him and raise him and develop him betrayed him.
Yeah.
And in his eyes is like, why have family when they don't serve you well? In his
Mhm.
experience as a 6-year old, I get it. I get it. I really do.
Yeah. It's fucked up. It's fucked up for anybody, whether you're in this business or not. It's just a fucked up way of being. But yeah, for whatever reason, Sean still needs to prove himself and give like this lasting image that, I'm a lot stronger than you think I am. I'm not weak. But yet he uses poison to to kill Koba, which, if you reference Game of Thrones, poison's often associated with being a woman's weapon.
Yep.
So, you know, Sean could be a little bitch, but anyway. But to see Koba, this hardened individual who's just doesn't give a shit, he's cold as ice, to see him die in front of you, right? Like I said, the nosebleed, the blood coming out of the corners of his eyes, and he's paralyzed. And you're seeing like this slow death, even though he reaches for the gun to try to point it at Sean and he can't. And then just to die right there in the back seat. What an incredible performance.
What death was worse to you, Koba's poisoning or Joffrey's poisoning?
Joffrey's poisoning is never satisfying. Like as many times as I've watched that episode, it's not enough. It's absolutely not enough. That kid needed far worse things to happen to him. Um, I they're both great deaths. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Joffrey just needed to have way more happened to him than what happened. No, this performance was incredible. Like, I actually believe that the actor himself just died, like, right there and then. Man, what a performance.
And he ate that whole fucking, he killed that sandwich, bro. He killed that burger. He ate that whole shit.
Are gas station burgers really that good in the UK?
I never had one before. I don't think I would. The closest thing I ever came to having a gas station burger. Huh?
Not now.
No, not definitely not now. But like the closest thing I ever had to a gas station burgers, it was like, driving back home to Dallas and like stop at a gas station, but like a Wendy's attached to it or like a Burger King attached to it.
But see, that's different.
Closest, but not like actually in the gas station, like next to the cashier. No, I'm not.
Because you know how people talk about gas station tacos or sushi or just anything. And I'm like, why? Like, if you can find a Buc-ee's, which if y'all are not from Texas, y'all need to come to Texas solely just for Buc-ee's. Like, it's incredible. It's like a Walmart plus cleanest bathrooms of life. Also,
it's the Taj Mahal gas stations for sure.
Oh my God, is it? And anyway, I digress. But I don't know how. I'm just very weary of gas station burgers, but okay, sure. That's how Koba meets his death. Gas station burger and fries. Sure. Meanwhile, Elliot is on the way to the meetup location with Billy, who's in and out from this morphine, sort of coma, if you will. Because again, he's been bleeding out from his arm. And when he sees that there's like this screwdriver in the glove compartment, Billy thinks to himself, all right, that's my weapon. I got to somehow get that. He eventually will get it through some strenuous challenges, if you will, because he's strapped up. He gets it. He hides it up his sleeve. And we're just going to go ahead and fast forward to like the final showdown, because my goodness gracious, this showdown was fucking epic. I think for any of us who wanted to see like a Sean and Koba showdown or an Elliot and Koba showdown, I was not mad about seeing this Elliot and Sean showdown.
Nope, not at all.
Jesus Christ. So they get to the meeting spot. It's dark as it is. And Sean shows to Elliot from a distance, hey, this is Koba. Here's his dead body. I'm going to put him over here. You bring me Elliot. Elliot, just kidding. Elliot, you bring me Billy. And at some point, Billy's going to use this screwdriver to some point, right? And when Sean's on his knees per Elliot, because he's going to like shoot him execution style, right? When Billy like popped up and stabs Elliot in the stomach area, I was like, oh, this is it. We're going to see the end of Elliot. And I'm like, because you said earlier, he's always able to evade like major gunshot wounds or, major stabbings. Like he gets his fair share. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. Right. But I'm like, there's no way he can come back from this. There's no way. So tell us about the highlights of this showdown for you between Sean and Elliot.
You know what, Britt? The first thing I was surprised that Sean had hands. You never really see Sean fight. Like you see Sean shoot people, you see Sean hide in the shadows and do X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. The fact that he's handling his own as a military vet, a guy who is the Black John Wick, as we call him.
Yep,
I was impressed with. You don't see many mob leaders still have the ability to get down when need to. So I was surprised by that. And there were times throughout the fight I was like, dude, Sean might finish him off. Like, oh shit, you know what I'm saying? And like, and the fact that he was getting with Elliot was impressive. And so when fast forward when Elliot finally has Sean and he strangles him and he hangs him, I'm thinking to myself, are we really gonna kill this dude twice in the season? Like, are we really gonna do that? Like,
that's what I thought.
This is kind of overkill. Like, Sean has to survive. He has to be a fixture for this, not just for the season, but for the series. He needs to be a fixture. You can't bring a character back in the grand fashion that you did, only to kill him 7 episodes later. It doesn't make sense. And when Elliot goes through the whole his whole monologue of like, you know what is killing you going to do? I'm going to make you suffer. I'm going to implode London from within, and I'm going to make you watch. Which made sense. Like, you know what? Sean is so fixated about power, London, being the head honcho, doing what his father did times 10. And what's a greater punishment than seeing it from the sidelines and not being able to do anything about it? And so when Elliot puts that tire under Sean's feet and leaves him there for the authorities to get there, I was like, man, the writing, man, bravo. I can't fucking wait to see what next season is going to be. And I'll leave it to you. What were your highlights of that fight?
Honestly, I've talked a little bit about it, but the cinematography, the aerial shots of seeing this whole fight in the dirt happen. And like you said, Sean's got hands. I was like, oh, okay, white boy, like let's go. Like let's go. And you Macaulay Culkin looking, whatever. You know, he was there to get it. Like when Billy is helping out his brother and gave him that edge by stabbing the screwdriver into Elliot, and Elliot went down. I mean, Sean just went full on like carnage and attacks Elliot and beating him and they're pushing each other into whatever's around them. It's like a junkyard of cars or whatever. And just the creative ways of trying to really weaken the opponent. And even when Sean, he's facing down on the ground and a canister of oil has toppled over and he, scoops up some of it, to when Elliot is approaching him and he turns around and flings the oil into Elliot's eyes. I'm like, okay, this guy is smart. Like, he's not an idiot. Like, he's just really impulsive. As we've said, he's loose cannon. But it's enough to impair Elliot for a time being to kind of get away. But then Elliot too also amazes us with, he can't see properly. He's seeing double, but when he hears enough movement, he can kind of figure out where the person is, and he starts shooting in that location to where Sean can't get away. I'm like, this is impressive. Like you've said, the writing is off the charts with this show, especially when it comes down to these very violent fighting sequences. And but I think really for me, Frank, it was just the overall cinematography behind everything, because you're getting sometimes like the camera can be too up close in your face when fights are happening, and so there's just a lot of movement. You really can't focus on what's happening. But when you have like that aerial shot and you can really see just how much space they're occupying and what they're doing to one another, that to me was cool. I really appreciated being able to see everything and then really absorb what's happening between these two men. But yeah, the moment that Elliot used the straps with the buckle that had Billy, and he swung it right when you think Sean is going to impale him with whatever that rod was, or a wooden pole or whatever it was. I mean, he turned around and swung it and popped Sean in the face. I was like, well, there went that side of the face again, right? He already got shot once on that side. I was like, oh my God, I thought that was it. But when he started to hang him from the crane, like you, I'm like, oh, are they really going to kill him off this time, or is he going to come back somehow? Right. And so when that scene ends, you're left to believe that Elliot did kill Sean, right? Because he's fleeing away from the scene with Billy, and cops are on their way to that location, and you see from a distance that Sean's still there hanging. But what I thought was weird is that he was still clenching onto the whatever the strap around his neck, and I'm like, well, if he was dead, he wouldn't be able to do that. Usually it's like arms flung down. So I thought it was kind of weird. But then it's later revealed that Elliot said what he said to Sean. Like you said, he wanted Sean to watch from the sidelines to see Elliot burn down everything that Sean held dear. For me, initially, and we talked about this offline, I was like, this is such a weird turn for Elliot, because he did not want any involvement whatsoever. Like, he was an undercover cop who was trying to do his job, But you said it so well. He's lost everything. What does he have to lose at this point?
Yeah.
Nothing, except maybe Shannon, you know? But Shannon's involved in this world too. And she did propose to him, join me and we can rule the galaxy kind of thing, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But for me, and I'd like for you to really just, if you can, just kind of tell the audience why this is such a brilliant move for Elliot.
It's brilliant because Elliot knows as a one man army, he can't take down Sean in London by himself. He's tried that. Like I think from the beginning of season one, I think Sean tells the Asian cop that he's been undercover for like 3 years or 2 years. I can't remember, but it's been a couple years at this point. And during that span, he hadn't gained any ground or bring anybody down.
Mm-hmm.
So Sean, Elliot has done it by the books for as long as he could. And it got to a point by doing it by the books, he lost his father, he lost his wife and son. He lost his sanity. You know what I'm saying? Like he was under the thumb of the investors now, doing things they didn't want to do.
Oh God, everybody.
Everybody, like, and he's probably killed a lot of innocent people that he didn't want to kill either during that time span.
Yep.
So, when Elliot tells Billy about, a king and a pawn, I think that was Elliot finally coming to realization that me doing it the way I've been doing it, I'm always going to be a pawn. I'm always going to be answering to somebody else. I'm always going to be under the thumb of my adversaries. Let me be in control for once and do things my way. And then again, I have nothing to live for. Like his goal at that point was to get to Panama with his dad and live a happy, post retirement life.
Jamaica.
Oh, Jamaica. I'm sorry, Jamaica, and live a happy retirement life. And when that was taken away from him, so was his identity. At that point, what is it to live for at that point? And I don't think it was a character turn per se. I think it was more of I'm still a good man, but the way I've been doing it, I'm not gonna be able to get this. I'm not gonna be able to be successful in trying to bring down this shit. I'm gonna do this from within. I'm gonna be a leader. I'm gonna run with Shannon and Ed and create a new era for London. Now, this could be a Walter White thing. I only see Breaking Bad.
No, I haven't, but I know of Walter White.
So the essence of Breaking Bad is that, Walter White he finds out he has lung cancer and it's terminal. He's like, he only has so much to live. Yeah, he's a science teacher, right? Like he makes $38,000 a year in New Mexico. He has no way of like living and be a provider. So he has an opportunity to be this meth dealer, this meth scientist.
As you do.
Throughout the and throughout the series, he's gained so much power, he's gained so much resources that he becomes that. It's not about providing for his family. It's now I've submerged myself in all this power and influence. I don't want to let this go because this is my identity now. People fear me. I inspire so much fear. I inspire so much greatness. I am a cog in like this drug trade from Mexico to the US. This is who I am now. And I think when Elliot is like, this is who I am. I've made my way through these levels of trying to bring down these drug enterprises. But you know what? Fuck it. It could be one of those things where he becomes so enthralled in this that he becomes like the Walter White. Like it becomes bigger than him, and he falls in love with this abuse of power, and he becomes the guy that's addicted to being on top. So I can see one or two ways.
Yeah, no, for sure. I totally can see that and agree with that. And that's kind of one of my predictions when we go into season 3, and hopefully it won't take 5 years, which it felt like getting a season 3. But the fact that, for one, Elliot delivered Billy to wherever, because we do see Billy visit Sean in jail, which I don't see how Sean is ever going to be able to get out of jail, because I'd imagine like with CCTV that coming to that meetup location and taking Koba's body out from the boot of the car, like, yeah, that's gonna be hard to explain, right? So that's just one thing. But Billy is still forever loyal to his brother, right? They don't say a word to one another, but that they're going to be in cahoots with one another. In the meantime, we see Elliot approaching like this room where all these mob bosses are meeting up, and Ed Dumani is kind of talking with people and what have you. And so you see Elliot walk around the circular table to take his spot in between Shannon and Ed. And I'm thinking to myself, Elliot has had so much beef with all these people here to some degree, right? And it's like, how is it that no one at this moment is like reacting to him being there, which I'm sure we'll see unfold in season 3. But in between all that, Frank, and I think this is the part that really caught me off guard the most, and it made me so excited to see this happen, was the exchange that Asif has with Lale. Holy shit. Did you at all expect her to still be alive?
Fuck no, I did not. This is like, dude, I was so surprised because these are mortal enemies. They've been mortal enemies since the beginning of the series. Like when you see the flashback of like Lali fighting this freedom fighting war, you know, for her people, and Asif is like burning her husband on the freaking human laid frying pan. You know what I'm saying? There are sworn mortal enemies. And even at that point where Lali gets caught and she's a hostage, she's hung upside down. Like Asif at that point is laying, like Asif's men is laying down like this plastic covering. They're planning to butcher her, make her suffer, and then roll up and throw in the trash.
Yeah.
So much happened in between time. I don't know what happened that night when Sean brought her back. I don't know why he kept her alive, but I really hope that they go into season 3 of like some type of flashback of like explaining why he kept her alive. Because at that point, Brittany, Asif had made that alliance with Koba and Sean. Their investors are gone. They've all been murdered. Asif had the upper hand. What was the point of keeping Lali alive? Like the whole Asif shipment getting intercepted. And that was all after Lali. Like Lali could have been dead, but Lali should have been dead by then. So I need to know for myself, for my own sanity, of why she was kept alive, because it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm glad she's alive because I love me some Lali. I follow her on Instagram now. Like she is one of my fan favorites. So I need to know
she's incredible.
What's going on. But shit, boy, if you're Sean, you better stay in prison. You better stay in prison, bro.
Listen, hell hath no fury like a woman's scorn. Okay,
especially a woman with military skills.
Ooh, okay.
An assassin, if you will.
Plot twist. Yeah, no, because when Asif is talking about that, he says, you know, he feels more like an outsider than ever. You know, he thought London was his city, but you know, he feels really disconnected from it. He needs someone to partner with to regain it, basically. And then you see the camera, you know, it's panning, you know, in a circular motion around, and then you see Lale. I was like, I had to catch my breath a little bit. I was like, no fucking way. And I'm like, oh, like you, Sean better stay in jail. He better stay in jail.
I don't get it, because Asif killed your husband.
Yep.
You killed his only son, his firstborn, his son, and then made fun of it while he was his hostage.
Yes,
you're
right.
I need to know what events took place for both of them to set aside their differences, and become and get an alliance. Was it always Asif's plan? I don't think it was, because again, they laid out the plastic covering to like rid of the body. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then again in episode 6, where you see the Tarantino's flip, where you see the dog eating the flesh or licking the flesh. I'm thinking it's Lali. You know what I'm saying? Like who else could have been?
Right.
And then the ping on the elevator opening up. I'm thinking that Lali's being brought back. Now that I saw the whole episode in hindsight, I'm thinking to myself, okay, that had been a big episode where they brought Lali back through the elevator and he drags her to the room. They're gonna have to explain that, man. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't.
It doesn't. But I think because of the fact that there's now this commonality of an enemy with Sean, because how Sean bullied Asif into giving up like his routes and his connections to acquiring drugs and things like that. It was, well, now Asif, you work for me. Like, you don't have the upper hand anymore. Like, you work for me. And then, of course, with Lale, with what Sean did to her. And so, you said it earlier, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. You keep your enemies close, keep your friends close, but enemies closer. Like, I'm sure there's something that's going to unravel between the two of them at some point. Maybe not next season, but in seasons to come. I'm going to manifest it. We're going to get multiple seasons. But yeah, I think their common enemy is Sean. And if that means by extension taking down Marion, Wallace, and the rest of the organization as a whole, because we do see Marion walk in at that room, and she's kind of sitting at the head of the table, like holding court, if you will. And everyone kind of exchanges these glances. And Elliot kind of looks down like, God, like, what am I doing? And then he smiles to himself and looks up at her. And then it cuts to black. And it's like, oh, shit's going to pop off. Like, it's going to pop the fuck off.
That's going to be the next Bonnie and Clyde, man. They run fucking London, bro. What was Marion in that round table footage?
She was.
Okay,
she walked in last. Okay, yeah, she walked in last. Yeah.
And then my question is, where's Billy?
Well, Billy went to go visit Sean. Remember, he went to go visit him in the jail.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right. I saw it a week ago, so I'm still kind of foggy in some aspects to it. But
yeah,
no, man, like I really can't. I'm kind of sad that Koba's gone, because Koba was like one of those guys where it's just a level of evil and entertainment that he just portrays on screen that you don't really see in bad guys.
It's kind of Ramsay Bolton like.
It is. It really is. Like you hate him, you want him to die, but at the same time, every scene that he's in, you don't know what he's going to do. He's unpredictable. Therefore, he's entertaining in simultaneously.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting what new enemies arise in season 3. What new conflicts arise? Because right now,
it's all going to be internal.
It has to be, because they cleaned house. Koba's gone, so Koba's men probably not answer to Elliot, Jen.
Well, but they're going to have enemies with Asif and Lale.
Okay.
Like there has to be that, but it's I still say it's internal because they were part of the organization.
That's true.
You see what I'm saying? So they're going to tear the house from within, and it's going to be bloody. It's going to be glorious. It's going to be captivating. And I think, Frank, what you told me the other day, because again, I hadn't watched the episodes up until today, that the payoff really paid off in this finale. Like, it was worth it. Like, there were parts of the season that was like, okay, this is a little slow, or could have done something different, but like overall, like, this season was incredible. I still think I enjoyed season 1 more. I think just because of the newness of it, but this was still great storytelling, and it kept you on the edge of your seat many times. And the level of betrayals that this season conveyed to us was just well done.
It's just a constant reminder that when you're in this life, things can take a turn at a minute. Like, your friend can be your enemy can be your friend. But at the common denominator is power, and what people would do for power and influence. You see it throughout the series. And that's why it keeps us guessing, because you don't know who's going to betray who. You don't know who's going to rise to power next. You don't know whose kingdom is going to crumble. It's so circumstantial. It really is. It's all about, does my wants and ambitions in line with yours, and does your wants and ambitions collide with mine? Yeah. And you brought up a good point. I didn't think about the whole Asif thing of, like, Asif already saw Koba kind of like snapping at him, and like nah, nigga, you ain't my boss, bro. Like, no, you ain't something like that. Like, Asif is so used to being like the head honcho, inspiring fear, and now you have 2 men who you're in bed with who don't fear you. Like, here's the funny thing. This is when I knew Asif had lost power. Sean made a deal with Asif. Koba and Sean made a deal with Asif for his infrastructure and for the drug trade.
Yep.
Sean and Koba in turn pretty much lost 1.3 tons of heroin on Asif's track, on Asif's trail.
Yeah.
And they weren't even scared. That's the funny thing. Like, they weren't like, oh shit, man, Asif's they're gonna kill us, bro. They're gonna get our families. It was like, hey man, only us three and like two other people knew about this route. Was you Asif? Like they questioned Asif. Like,
yeah, they did. And then proceed to threaten his family if he didn't come up with a solution.
Like, nigga, y'all lost my shit. And like, it was like, I think Asif wasn't used to that. Asif was so used to like being the guy who inspires fear, and to be the third guy in the Trinity, the third weakest guy in the Trinity, it didn't sit well with him. But again, all this happened after the night that he had Lolly. So it makes me wonder what conversations were had. Because like the last visual thing we see of Lolly is being dragged by the hair and she's crying. She's pleading to Sean.
Screaming, crying.
So how do you go from that to like, you know what? I want to make a deal with you. Like, how you go from that extreme to what we saw in the finale? It's just, I gotta see it. I gotta see what happened. I need to see what transpired, Britt. I have to see it.
Yeah, no, I agree that there's definite need for explanation, because just the animosity that they had for one another was like off the charts. I do hope that's addressed come season 3 of Gangs of London. But
yeah, you kill my child, and I'm gonna like create an alliance with you. Your husband gets killed in an everlasting war between this faction. I'm gonna be cool with you. I'm gonna make an alliance with you. Nah, fam. My ego is too big for that. For me, I couldn't do that. Like, fuck power, nigga. You gotta die. Like, you gotta go. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'll find other avenues to find power and be influential.
Profitable.
What I'm trying to do. Yeah, to be profitable. I'm not laying in bed with someone who killed my family. I can't do it. Can't do it.
No.
Can't do it.
No, I agree. But overall, Frank, this was a great season. I really enjoyed it. I do wish that George would have been able to join us so we can get his thoughts and his hot takes on Gangs of London. But this has been fun to do with you. Thank you again for bringing Gangs of London into my life, because now I can't live without it, apparently.
Same with me, man. It's been wonderful to share a show that I really covered with you guys, man. And you know what? Now we're on the topic, man. I want to shout out to the Watchers group, the Watchers in the Basement team. We've expanded over the last year now. We have, Tristan is here now, and Marcy's here now. I know Naomi's been busy, but you have some colleagues of yours that are now part of it. So like now we have more opportunities to cover shows that we really love, because the original 4 of us, it was 5 of us. It was just too thin. We didn't have enough manpower to cover things that we really love. So shout out to the team growing, man, and I can't wait to see what we have for 2023 with our expanded family.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's so many different shows. We all have so many different tastes. Like, we don't necessarily all watch the same things, don't care for the same type of genres. But yeah, no, it's been great to expand the Watchers universe, if you will. So we've definitely have a lot in store for this year. We do appreciate everyone who's joined us on this journey thus far. We've definitely got way more in stock for the rest of 2023 and hopefully years to come. Manifest that one day we can do this full time, Frank.
All right.
That'd be great. But yeah, one thing I think you, Amber, and myself have talked about doing is covering Mayfair Witches, which is also an AMC Plus show. It's from the Anne Rice universe. If y'all haven't checked out our review on Interview with the Vampire that I did with Amber, please be sure to do so. Great show. Y'all need to go check it out.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. I cannot wait for season 2. But yeah, we will be doing I'm going to go out on a limb and just say we're going to do the season wrap up of Mayfair Witches, just because we've missed a couple of episodes already, but that's going to come your way. We're also reviewing The Last of Us. Oh man, that's going to be rough for me. Broccoli face motherfucker. My God. Yeah, we're doing that right now. We've got Marvel in store. We've got other shows that I know you guys are excited about. I think is it Succession that's going to come back?
Yeah, they say spring, but they haven't given it. HBO does this shit, man. They
always
don't give a date until like a month out.
Yeah.
So still in succession. 1923 will resume February 5th. We still have a date for Yellowstone. The mid-season finale ended a couple weeks ago. We're still waiting for the date for that. But we have a lot of shows coming up, man. So 2023 is going to be got Ant-Man next month. So
Oh
we
my
have a lot of
gosh.
things coming up early part of the year.
We do. So everyone, thank you for joining us for finally wrapping up Gangs of London. That's season 2. Be sure to go and check it out on your own if you haven't already, and you've already been spoiled to everything that we've just said, but hey, you do you. Be sure to follow us here on YouTube. We are on the road now to 300 subscribers, which is very exciting. So be sure to give us a subscribe, like this video, leave a comment. We do encourage you to join our live chats. Those are a lot of fun, lots of engagement, lots of different opinions and questions, great questions that are asked too. But also, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Search at Watchers Basement, and you can use that same hashtag to help grow our audience. Send us memes, send us articles, send us things that you want us to review. As we've said, we're growing our Watchers universe, so let us know what you want us to review. And finally, you can also listen to our audio podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Thanks to Anchor.fm. Leave us a 5-star rating. All right, Frank, that wraps up Gangs of London for us. This has been a blast.
Thank you, man. It's been a blessing. Can't wait for season 3. I hope it doesn't take 3 years for it to come out. So
my God. Yeah. And we need to get George to look up when we can get all the episodes, because it premieres in the UK first before it does here in the States. So
yeah.
Or we're just all going to take a trip to the UK. How about that? Let's just
I'm
do
down
that.
for that. I don't mind doing some BTS stuff with the cast. Let's get it.
Right. Let's go. All right. Thank you, everyone, once again. Appreciate it. And we will see y'all in a future pod.